Good evening. I'm the first pastor you're looking at without a jacket on tonight. Well, Pastor Mark, that's because they told me I didn't have to wear one. Welcome. I hope everybody's having fun this evening. I'm going to be reading from John chapter 19, verses 26 and 27. I'm going to take the liberty and read 25 also, provided my eyes can focus. Near the cross of Jesus stood his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother there, and the disciple whom he loved standing nearby, he said to his mother, "Dear woman, here is your son." And to the disciple, "Here is your mother." From that time on, this disciple took her into his home. Now I want to touch on just a couple of points tonight. I want to talk about how Jesus served others and how he did it in love. A little bit of history tonight. In verse 25 we see that Mary, Jesus' mother, and her sister Salome was there, and Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene was there, as well as the beloved disciple John. Amen. John was Mary's sister's son, making him Jesus' cousin. Now, the disciple, it's important, what I want you to understand here is the role that these people played in order to have a full grasp of the responsibilities that are fulfilled here. Jewish custom back then was if the father or the husband was no longer in the picture, then the oldest son was to assume the care of the mother or the wife. And Jesus now is hanging on the cross in his last moments of life, and he's going to pass that responsibility on to someone else. Amen. John was there, his cousin, in the bloodline. So he could rightfully pass her care on to him, rather than to another brother. Jesus also knew that John, the one he loved, was one of the most reliable disciples he had. So who better to trust the care of your mother with than someone that you truly love? Now, I want to take a closer look at this here. Picture it. Jesus is hanging on the cross in pain, in agony, blood rolling down, gasping for air. Crucifixion is a death by suffocation, and he's got this little footrest where his feet are nailed to, and every time you take a breath, you push up to take a breath before your body just relaxes back down. Amen. Obvious pain and agony, dying the cruelest, most painful death known to man. And where was his concern? For his mother, for others. Picture yourself, and ask yourself this question. Picture yourself hanging on that cross in the same situation Jesus was in. By rights, we should have been there anyway. He's dying for us. But picture yourself there. Ask yourself, where would my concerns be? Would it be for my family standing around? Or would it be for me, wanting to get down off the cross, wanting this pain to stop? I tend to believe that our concern would be for us. But Jesus wanted to see that his mother's well-being was cared for. And there was no one better, as I said, than John. Jesus had a true love for his mother, and he had a true love for the disciples, as he has a true love for all of us. And they were both there to share in many of the firsts that went on in his life. Mary obviously delivered him, so she was the first one to lay eyes on God in the flesh. She heard the first words of God, saw the first steps of God, all the way up to the first miracle of God. And then John saw the first healings of the sick, saw the first lame that would walk, saw the first blind man who could now see. He saw those who were dead living again. Many first. He saw lives that were changed forever. Now, what I want you to understand is that Jesus would show his devotion and his love for his mother by fulfilling his responsibility as that son, for passing that care on. All through Jesus' life, he served others to the glory of God the Father. And he's doing so here. But here's what truly touches my heart. As I stand here and look at each one of us, as he hung on that cross, looking out for the well-being, securing the human destiny of his mother, he was securing all of our eternal destiny at the same time. That touches my heart. There's a man who loves. While Jesus was serving all of us, giving the responsibility of his mother, he was giving his life for you and I. That's love. In my sermon this past Sunday, I gave an illustration that illustrated love, and I want to share that with you here quickly. Air Force Lieutenant John Mansour spoke of a time in Vietnam where an 8-year-old girl in an orphanage was injured seriously by a misguided mortar attack. There was an American doctor and an American nurse there close by. Neither one of them had the blood type that this girl had, and this girl needed a blood transfusion or she was going to die. But some of the other kids who were injured did have the same blood type. Through the language barrier, the doctor knew Pidgin Vietnamese, very little of it, and the nurse knew only college French. But through the language barrier and the impromptu sign language, they got the question out. Because does any one of you want to share your blood so that this little girl would live? And one little boy named Hing put his hand up and then took it down. And then started to put his hand up and took it down, and then hesitantly walked forward. As they swabbed his arm and inserted the needle, and the blood started to flow from his body to hers, Hing got scared. He put his fist up to his face, fighting back tears. But the tears would come anyway. And then they started coming more and more. And the doctor and nurse knew something was desperately wrong here, but they didn't know what because of the language barrier. But then a Vietnamese nurse walks up and asked what was wrong. They said, something's wrong here. So she asked him the question. And he told her. And then she gave him words, consoling him and comforting him. And the tears started to go away. And the nurse turned to the Americans and said, he thought he was dying. He misunderstood you. He thought you wanted all of his blood. But then the Americans asked, well, why would he do that? Why would he be willing to give all of his blood to this little girl? So she asked him. And he says, because she's my friend, and I love her. Jesus is our friend, and he loves us. So much so that he gave his life on the cross for you and I. If you ever doubt the love of Christ, look at the cross, because it's written in red, and it says, I love you. Thank you.